Right, well, what we're going to talk about today is the pendulum in a very fundamental way of laying it out. With definitions and how it works and what the purpose of it is. Why did we have a pendulum in contribution training? And why do we have contribution training? Putting those really straightforward questions out. And to answer the second one first, the aim of our work is to give people choices and control about their life, so they can move their life ahead in the way they would like to move it ahead, and overcome the obstacles which will get in the way of them moving their life ahead. At times, we define the goals of Pendulum as teaching people how to get their needs met in nourishing ways. I think I'd reframe that. Teaching and helping people to get their needs met in nourishing ways, and teaching them and helping them to find the contributions which gives their life purpose and meaning. So on the one hand, it's needs, and on the other hand, it's purpose. The reason we have the pendulum in contribution training is that our feelings, our emotions are a huge part of who we are. David Pellin would say that the only things that are real that are what we do and what we feel. And coming from that spirit of his, without debating that particular point, which I can understand is debatable, but just for now, accepting it with goodwill and suspending disbelief, half of our life is our feelings and half of our life is what we're doing. And the half of our life that is our feelings is represented at the first point of entry by the pendulum. The aim of the pendulum is to give us choices about what we do with our feelings. In a sense, you could say the point of the pendulum is to give us a control over how our past affects our present and future life, because it is the past that provides us with our feelings on one level. Certainly, it is our past that brings up the most crippling and disabling feelings that will prevent us from living the life we want to lead and getting to the places we want to get to. And, that part of our work, how we address the past directly, is called memory links. And memory links will be, I guess I'm going to do at least 2 weeks on the pendulum. Today, introducing it in a fundamental way. Next Sunday, refining it. The Sunday after that, bringing in memory links. And the Sunday after that, combining the pendulum and the triangle. Because the pendulum and the triangle give us our basic diagrams. To come straight into what the pendulum is about, the reason that the pendulum can give us choices in our life, in terms of the current work I'm doing on decisions, which to share with you, a moment of transparency, I say, all of a sudden I've lost all my confidence, okay? But I finished the first very rough draft of the book. Whoops. Yes, I don't make statements like that, so I made it here. Thank you. Thank you for being here so I could make the statement. Anyway, so, and saying that, you know, almost using that as an example, I would need in presenting this to be careful, and you will know this, not to get high on that bit of transparency. So all of a sudden for 15 or 20 minutes, I'm off the topic of the pendulum and talking about something else, which is a current project, okay? So I go off on current project digression, and that is a swing to a high. In the high, we lose the choice of, okay, Peter, you're going to stay on topic, or you're going to wander away in an uncontrolled way. I mean, that's the middle, the tolerable, that's the tolerable area of the pendulum. You know, that's the diagram. Yeah, in the tolerable area of the pendulum, which here, although some people don't like it, we're making it yellow. I have that choice. Am I going to stay on topic, or am I going to wander off? So we have in the pendulum, and in terms of the theme I'm suggesting today, the pendulum being a tool that can expand the range of choices about what we want to do with our emotions, including what we want to do with those elements of our past, whether they're childhood abuse, sexual abuse, trauma. The pendulum can increase the range of choices about what we do with the vessel of negativity and negative emotions that we all carry around in us. The pendulum is that which is inside us. As we get into some of the more detailed parts of the pendulum, we do talk about the pendulum being that which is inside us, not necessarily what it appears to be, okay? Pendulum is what we are actually experiencing. But to stay on track with the straight definitions, so the tolerable, or in this diagram, the yellow part of the pendulum is where we have some choices about what we are going to do with our intense feelings. And we call that tolerable in the sense that the amount of hurt involved is tolerable. We can bear it. So the tolerable part of the pendulum, whether it's a high or a low, is where we can take effective action. In terms of material we've been looking at here recently, the tolerable part of the pendulum, whether it is the high or the low, is a part where we could have some significant success in turning rejected efforts into accepted efforts. The series of talks I put down for the next 4 weeks, anticipating, 4 weeks from now, if we are outside of the tolerable area of the pendulum, where there is a tolerable amount of hurt we will have caused to us, or do unto ourselves, we got a chance of turning rejected efforts into accepted efforts. In the compulsive part of the pendulum, and this is 4 weeks down the line, in the main, we will not be able to do that. There are some exceptions that will be important. Parallel to the exceptions, if you remember that some true rest can be an extreme high or an extreme low. Not a lot of it, but 7% of true rest is on the extreme end. An arbitrary figure. And there's something similar about, and this is anticipating, so I'll get back to the basic definition, but just to put it out, there is some brilliance we can have in the compulsive high and the compulsive low in terms of turning rejected efforts into accepted efforts. And given in terms of the overall thrust of the material, that's a pretty big deal. But to come back to the basic definitions, the tolerable area is where we can take effective action. We can find realistic and nourishing decisions, and we can be effective in how we are in the world, and we can also be approach effectiveness in how we deal with that parts of our past which characteristically holds us back, and those actions that characteristically hold us back. That's the tolerable part of the pendulum. Bring it just before we go into the, I think what I could call, and it's true, what I could call the excitement of the extremes of the pendulum, what we call the compulsive parts of the pendulum, what in the diagram of the red areas, spending some time on the calm. The words we are using here are jargon words, and this is a particularly important one about the calm. But when we are talking about highs, we are talking about the extrovert part of ourselves. Highs are often physical. Highs are sort of reaching out in the world and engaging. Highs can be anger or falling in love. They can be embarrassment or enthusiasm. So the high is a jargon word in Pelin, meaning a time when our emotions want to reach out and be in the world. Another way of looking at the high, it's the extrovert part of ourselves. So we're not talking about high energy. We're not talking about high intensity. We're not even talking about sort of emotional intensity. There is not necessarily an absence at all of emotional intensity or intense energy or creativity in the calm of the pendulum. So the basic, and perhaps I should have said this right at the beginning, the most difficult part of the pendulum to grasp is the fact that it's about the movement of our emotions, okay? It's all about the movement of our emotions and how this tool and this diagram can be used to track and understand the movement of our emotions, so we have choices around them and control over them. I don't like to push the.
I don't know if you see,
Peter.
Oh,
yeah, go.
Oh, I'm sorry, but when you've been holding up the pendulum, it's too quick for me at least, to get a grasp of it.
Yeah, no, thanks.
Wait, let me finish.
Didn't have the. I'm having trouble with my Zoom today, but I didn't have the right thing up. Okay, I was a bit too high on the pendulum to look after the tech side. So keep going.
Yeah, I don't know if you can do screen sharing. Do you know how to do that?
No, I don't.
Oh,
Sorry.
maybe somebody could show you how to do that, because then it can go up on your screen and you can talk about. Yeah, that's no, it's better than that. A screen sharing would show the whole thing over the whole screen.
if you give a minute, I can, and if I can get permission for screen sharing, I think I actually have that, and I could put up online.
Okay,
would you like that? Okay, yes, let me see if they'll give me a minute or two, because I need to pull it up.
Let me finish the rest of my concern.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so when you show that, if you could talk about how you would, maybe you're planning to do that, how you would use that with somebody you're working with, and how you I don't know if you have them point to where they are, or if you give them an estimate of where you are. So when she gets that up there, if you could show us, and maybe how we could use it for ourselves too. Does that make sense?
Oh no, yes. Absolutely.
Easier said than done.
Yeah,
Cecilia.
well, but yes,
Right.
I know it. I know but at least I could give me a little marker where I am.
Now, that's a great point, Cece, and I really appreciate you bringing it up and saying it that way. And I guess that's in a sense why I laid out these 4 weeks. And what we're doing, and the way I've changed the format a bit, but the Sundays presenting material and the Wednesdays are examples. That's so there will be room on the Wednesdays to bring in all those questions. I'm not saying, I wouldn't do it now, which I will. But what I wanted to do here, a little bit of transparency, but I need to be careful, as I said, not to get high on it. I've had a little bit of a trouble with the pendulum over recent years because it's boring to me because I presented it so many times. Okay, so I go off on some riff. Okay, yeah. In another place, Bob Dylan doesn't want to come out and sing "Blowing in the Wind." He wants to come out and sing the song he's written most recently. But we all want to hear him sing. Well, a lot of us want to hear him sing "Blowing in the Wind," and he's got to do it anyway. That's his brand. He's got to. So anyway, so one thing I'm doing, the reason I put that bit of background in season, one thing I want to do here is just put out the pendulum with all its basic definitions, okay? So the question of how you would use it with a client, going into all the experience and precision of that will be happening over the next 4 weeks.
Okay, maybe I can back up a minute on what I see what you're saying, but it would help me if when you, assuming we get this up in front of us, if you just give us one example of what, like, if they were over here, they'd be yelling and, whatever it is.
Yeah. No.
So it doesn't have to go into a lot, but it would just be an example.
Yeah, no. Well, and thank you for that. And that's where it's odd. I needed freshness around the pendulum because I've been teaching it for 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just that. So staying with this point of getting across the almost the only point of difficulty in using the pendulum, I believe, is getting across this basic thing. It's about how your emotions are moving. And to bring an example in with using it with a client, it is saying, what happens when you had that argument with your husband, when you just flew at him
Mm-hmm.
and could not do anything but escalate the problem you were having, okay? And also all the feelings you had, use a cliche, when there was lipstick on the collar, okay? Mm-hmm. What happened then is your pendulum went up, way up there. So, I mean, that would be an example, and it would be picking what you're saying, Keith, picking the time where you got the example to say, that's the movement of your emotion. You were baking the turkey and, and making sure the cranberry sauce didn't burn. And you were really, looking forward to him coming back from his business trip. Your pendulum was, pretty steady in the calm and tolerable area. And well, then it went way up there, wiped out everything. So I think you're right. It's having the examples, and yeah, I just need to develop more examples. And I guess that's one of the reasons I changed the format. So Wednesday is just examples. And it's not me going off on one of Peter's points of interest about Joe Biden. It's examples.
I'm ready now for, I don't know if I have permission to share screen, but I'm ready for that. Oh, yes, I do. Okay. Here, I'll put that on.
Oh, if you could put it up, that would be huge.
Can you see that now?
Yes, that's great.
Okay, an example of the pendulum. I mean, that's a dream come true for me, okay? It really is, after all this time. I always had a sense of the potential of the technology. You know, I'm not a Luddite. I have no opposition to it at all, really. But to have that up there like that, and for me to teach to it, thank you so much.
Mhm.
So bringing my pendulum back down, okay, and staying with, because what I want to do is really define each of the terms. And is it in any, this is me being very demanding, Cynthia, is it in any way possible to put the both of them up side by side?
Let me see if I can do that.
Yeah,
I have
at
the
this
which
point,
the others. Which other one you want up? I have 4 cards that you gave me.
let me do that differently, Cynthia, and thank you so very, very much. It would be good at this time to have the other side up.
Okay, I'll see if I can find the other side. Okay,
This
which
is
other
like
side?
a-
Can you show me that other side on yours? Because I have 4 pictures. So.
Oh, right.
Oh,
So,
with all the yeah, I wasn't sure which one you wanted. Yes, I can probably do that. I'm going to put my video off and I'll leave this on for now, and I'll play with it.
It's extreme sports of techno savvy, Cynthia.
Give me just.
yeah,
I'm going to put my
This is
video off because
very-
I have to look
let's
at the other
just
screen.
Let's just see if you can pull this one off. A triple Lutz.
absolutely.
I think I can manage it. Give me a moment.
Don't you tell me I can't snowboard down that very steep slope, okay?
Just a second. I'll work on that. And I'm going to put the screen sharing off for a minute while I'm doing it, so you don't have to watch me set it all up. So.
Aw.
It won't take that long. Do I have the second one up? No, I have to go find it from the thing. Or
Okay.
yeah, because you're gonna see me play. Well, actually, do you want to watch? I guess you could watch me do
Yeah,
it.
want to see how the
That's an
song.
option. Yeah, I'd like to see if you swear silently to yourself or
Okay, no, that's not gonna work. I gotta put it on. Sorry, well, this is not gonna help you so much because I have my computer in Japanese. So.
oh my God.
Oh my
So
God.
there's the back, and let me.
Overachiever,
Yeah.
show off.
Well, I
That is
do the
extreme sports to
okay.
do tech
No,
in
that's English.
Japanese.
That's
No,
English.
this is, but never
Oh.
mind. No,
Look at that. Look at your
Um,
files in Japanese. That's
Oh.
Let's see if this will work. Oh, I probably should move this back down to a smaller one.
mm,
Okay, hold on. I'm getting there.
mm,
I was gonna do this off screen, but I guess I can.
nice. Mm.
And
Oh.
where's the first
Can
one?
we can
There we go.
learn.
Down, and I'll change
Yeah.
the
We
where's
can use our fingers to spread it to the size we want to.
well, not on
No,
this
no,
screen
we
because I'm on my
can't.
computer.
Oh, I just did it.
No,
Oh.
that's just on your touch thing.
Okay, now
Okay.
I need
Oh,
to change
type an
this to a
iPad. Oh.
smaller amount.
Am
so
I
that the
right?
whole
I don't
thing-
know what I'm talking about.
All right, is this good? I can make them a little more even. I can play around with this. So there we are. How does that? Is it
Good.
beautiful?
Incredible. Is it?
Can you double click on one and then the other? Because it's kind of small to read.
Yeah, I think uh,
Or you know what might
Yeah.
work out? Instead of having
Well,
it side by
moment,
side,
have
maybe I can do
let's
up and
put it this
down.
way. At the moment, we'll
Okay.
just have one up as big as we can do it. Yeah, I can increase the size
Oh,
of it
that's
on that.
good.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay.
So,
Just tell me
thank
what side you
very-
want and I'll do it. I'll have the other one up as big. We have it set up, so all I have to do is switch it for you for whenever you want it.
Yeah, I mean, I am something of a relentless trainer. No, it's the other one we want up, not that one. Talk about turning a rejected effort into an accepted effort with a gimmick, okay? You know, me and how at times you need advisors and supporters to give you a chance of the gimmick, because that changes the pendulum totally for me, in terms of being an accepted effort. It just does. I think, wow, that's there. That's there on the forum. It's there on the people can study it. Just an example of how things happen. And for someone else, that wouldn't be sort of anything. But for me, it really, I could almost physically feel the change from rejected effort to accepted effort. Just with this, give me, use that phrase. So it is combining Cesa's question with wanting to lay out the basic definitions here. Yeah, I guess this is a straight Pelham training session, a la London or Cilento in Italy. So you've got to get across that idea of movement. And I think the way you can do that is when you see it with a client. Okay. COVID, or I almost don't want to go back there, but November 2016, and the result of that election and the movement of everyone, or not everyone, the movement of many people into a deep, hopeless low, and some other people in a rage-filled high, both compulsive and both. I think you're right, Cis. You've got to have a way to get it across, and I think the way to get it across is having the examples, and then in terms of working with people, seeing when it happened. Your emotion moved there. Where your pendulum was on the 3rd of November 2000, 2nd of November 2016 was very different from where your pendulum was on the 6th of November 2016, or bringing it into, I use the example of a relationship, bring it into parenting, bring it into work. But so you've got to get across the point of movement. And then you've got to get across, and I want to do them here. The high is a time when our emotions want to move out into the world. A high is a time when we see a gorgeous sunset and we want to grab someone to share it with. That's the high. The high is when we have anger and we want it directed to somebody. So the high is the extrovert side. The tolerable area is, it's there. Yes, Cynthia.
Sorry, I didn't know if you would see my hand up. That I didn't mean to interrupt like that, but
just slow down a little bit, because I know I totally lost that earlier here. So I think, I want to see someone hold their hand up.
I don't think
someone needs to come in, because then their picture comes up on the bottom right-hand side of my screen.
Okay.
I think that's the way it goes. Because it cannot be the case that.
And you don't see chat. You don't see the chat, do you? Because that's how a lot of they do it. They put in chat when they want a question. Is a lot of others.
Peter, do you mean when raise a hand? Do you mean hitting the reactions emoticon here and having that hand go up brings that person up on the screen for you?
Yeah, I've not used that, except when I was at my philosophy club, I actually used it.
Okay,
Um,
but does this bring
But
me
I
up on the
don't seem
screen?
to have it there.
Does this bring me up on the screen for you when I just hit raise hand?
Hold on. Participants share content, more.
You're not looking at all.
Yeah, now I
Yes,
can
it
do it.
does.
Yes,
Not you, me. Did I just come up on the screen because I hit raise hand down here? For
yeah,
you?
as soon as you spoke, you came up on the screen.
Oh, okay. So somebody can just interrupt you.
I think we'll do that for now.
Um,
I'll have too many pendulum swings about my technical incompetence if we go into it any further. Okay.
We'll leave it a protected, accepted effort.
Exactly. I've got to protect it.
Yeah. Anyways,
Um,
I have a question when you're
oh.
talking. Can I get to my question or should I? I'm sorry.
No, ask your questions for sure.
You were saying that the pendulum swings are the high of the pendulum is about being extroverted and stuff. I've noticed, and in fact, I just noticed on the YouTube video, and even like when I've watched videos of here, I actually get pendulum swings in social situations, but it's like an anxiety and fear and anxiety, and that doesn't feel extroverted to me. And I'm not sure how that is that a high then, or is that something else, or
Well,
but it
that's
feels like a
where-
high. I
that's
start giggling nervously and I start doing things. So
absolutely. And I guess we will have a 5th session, which is 5 weeks from today, which will be the pendulum and the life forces. Because what you're describing is classic, I get it, classic caring life force stuff. And it can be a very very, because the highs, we talk about the highs and the lows as pleasant or unpleasant. And again, they're very much jargon words. You know, high doesn't mean feeling good. And a pleasant high doesn't mean something that's good for us. You know, being drunk is a pleasant high. The feeling is pleasant. There's a lot of subtleties in it. I think what you picked up there is that it's almost extrovert in quote marks, introvert in quote marks, okay? It's a sort of way to get it across, but it's sort of much more subtle than that. And again, one of the ways I get at that fundamentally is what the pendulum is what's going on inside us, okay?
May I,
Yeah.
I'm aware of having a compulsive high, and I'm not aware of feeling any pain, but there's actually a lot of anxiety, and I'll be very shaky and exhausted after the fact and realize that I haven't been caring for myself. But the thing that I'm not actually aware of practicing, it feels, I mean, I'm thrilled to be interacting with others, but I'm over excited. And, but what I do realize is that I'm not able to, okay, you said that when you're in the calm, you're able to exercise options. You have choices and control in the calm of the pendulum. I'm not so sure that I do. I'm often running and I'm not able to check in.
Yeah, a couple of things about that. One is, and this is sort of, and I guess what I'll do is over this time, I'll try to keep coming back to the definitions in a short and simple way. But the calm again is a jargon word. We don't in any way mean tranquil. There can be a lot of excitement, creativity, sexuality in the calm of the pendulum. We simply have choices about what we're going to do with that intensity. So in a way, the calm of the pendulum is the ocean when it's flat. And you know, the cliche is, looks like a mirror. The ocean is not less deep because it's flat. When it's, and calm, is the word used. When it is flat, it is immediately safer, okay? And in a sense, the extremes of the pendulum, the compulsive areas, is when all the danger of the sea is present. You know, how it can destroy us. You know, other times when navies were about what we would call sailing ships, you know, if you went directly into the wave in a storm, you had the chance of surviving. But if you were sideways, not a naval term, to the waves, you could be tipped over. That's simple. So there is danger in the extremes, and that's why we make them red here. Although, as I said, not everyone likes the colors. Because in a definitional point about the compulsive high and the compulsive low is that we are close to hurt, we are close to danger. The attraction to hurt is very powerful in those compulsive places. And we call them compulsive in the sense of we don't have control over how much hurt we're receiving or causing to ourselves. And going back to that was one definitional point I wanted to make about your question, but the other part of your question, you know, I teach the material with a certain, well, defining terms, but they're tools, and you know how they can be used has, and I guess that's why I want to take 5 weeks on this. That's why they can be used in very, very subtle ways. So the point you were presenting, you know, all the sort of complexity in a moment of, you know, almost, you know, we could be half in a compulsive high and half in a calm at the same time, or almost, you know. So, but I don't want to bring in all the complexities at the beginning because I don't want to put you on the spot tomorrow, but I guess I'd ask you to bring it on Wednesday. You know, your quote from Ernest Hemingway. You know, so I want to get it across really, really clearly, okay? So it's a question at first of, okay, locating that, what the hell's going on for me? I'm upset, I feel I think of myself. You know, I feel I'm sort of being awkward, maybe shooting myself in the foot in a meeting, and there are enemies there, and oh God, I just feel depressed and like giving up, and all of that sort of going on at the same time, okay? But sort of using the pendulum to say, okay, some of me is in a compulsive high here. You know, just look at that. Just look at the bit where being in this meeting with these people, and I'm thinking of very specific for myself, of who's married now, a professional, my professional organizations, my professional licensing organizations, okay. You know, so there are some people where I've known forever. They're my buddies, and here they are stabbing me in the back. So,
Do you want me to take this part out when I put it up?
I don't think so, but thanks for bringing it up. I'll be a bit careful. Yeah, but no, doesn't need to be. Pretty well known. Yeah, and but thank you. I'll that's a nice point, Cynthia. I'll edit my language a bit, okay? People who I thought were diehard supporters all of a sudden are on the other side. And I think this is where the pendulum can come in and say, okay, there's all that stuff going on. I don't even know if I'm angry or depressed, but I can see, yes, in this meeting, I'm on a high that's sort of out of sight, okay? And I could just not look after myself in that situation. If I could bring myself all the way down to the calm, and that's almost a very disciplined use of the pendulum. In the calm, I can just shut up. Maybe I can remember passive listening. And then all of a sudden, oh, I wonder what Peter thinks. He's not saying anything. And if I could stay there, maybe go up to the tolerable area a little bit, come back down to the calm, and avoid that compulsive high, as I have claimed here, it's a shame for Palin, but I'm Joe Biden's secret tutor. Because what he's doing is just what I described, and that's where it is intuitive common sense. It's intuitive political common sense. Be careful if you get right up there. So coming back to it, it's Tamara. It's almost a sort of rough. Okay, I'm in a high. It's extraordinarily uncomfortable, and I just need to look after that. Okay, that's a sort of
to notice it. I only notice after I'm all shaken up, but to
exactly.
begin to be able to recognize the signs closer to the time would be nice, because then I could just take a breath and sit back.
And that sort of that goal, put it in that sense, of being able to recognize it when it's happening, we need to be realistic. It's just about impossible, okay? But a use of the pendulum is going through the work with someone, giving them, look, at the moment, she is 15 years old, and you're her mom, and she's driving you bonkers, okay? So it's just being able to say, be careful of your pendulum. Don't, you can control someone by swinging their pendulum. Teenagers are experts at swinging mum and dad's pendulum. So it's almost knowing when it happens, I won't be able to control my pendulum. I will get too high. I will get angry. I know you weren't at your girlfriend's house because I phoned her. So the work is preventative, okay, in the sense of recognize it in advance when that might happen. And again, it's sort of common sense. And, you know, my use of a nourishing family. It's what happens in a nourishing family. You know, we try to stand back enough, use the pendulum intuitively enough so we don't get pulled in to our fear of what might happen. I mean, I can't, you know, and I'm very aware that here we're all white. But that talk that I guess is mainly mums, but mums and dads who have to say to their boys that someone says it's 6 or 7, what to do when you're questioned by a policeman. That has to be delivered close to the calm. And they know that. They are not going to do, you know, within a nourishing family. They are not going to deliver that talk in such a way that all the fear they have inside them is communicated. They have to use the pendulum. Yeah, and they know it. Not our words, not never having heard of us, but it's there. It's there. And the biggest thing about the pendulum, I guess there are 2 big things. One is, as I've said, and I'll say again, it's the movement of our emotions. And I think in the example I just used, and you know, the accumulation of the unconscious accumulation of intuitive wisdom over time, the unconscious accumulation of intuitive human wisdom over generations. Okay, is there in that example? You know, it has to be delivered in a calm way. What might well be going on, what goes on, it's on the news, you know, the fears that go on, of course they're pendulum swings. So one of the major points is the movement of our emotions. The other major point is that to the extent we get high, we will get low. And that's big. That's got very big ramification for what is called mental illness. It's got very big ramification for what is called clinical depression, bipolar, manic depression, melancholia, Black Dog Days, which is Winston Churchill's expression. You know, a lot of what is generally called depression, he called Black Dog Days, is the result of highs. In a sort of rough definitional approach, we almost say half of depression is pendulum swings, half of depression is the material that people are presenting.
Can it just be attraction to hurt without the highs?
Well, we put it a slightly different way. The attraction to hurt will cause the highs, okay? And of course that one point is the definition of addiction. And when I work with heroin addicts, and that is, half a century ago or more. People, if God invented something better, Peter, he would have kept it to himself. It is that good. And in a way, this is rhetorical. In a way, there's nothing wrong with the highs, whether they're pendulum, whether they're heroin or something else, if they didn't result in the lows, but they will result in the lows.
I have an example that I saw of attraction to hurt with pendulum swings. I was watching a comedian talking about, there was a thing that said, the viewership of CNN has dropped 45% since Biden got into office. And the comedian was joking about it. He said, well, yes, it's the CNN is now losing to its biggest competition, a good night's sleep. And that's why we don't watch the Weather Channel after a storm. We only watch it during the storm.
Well, I would claim, this is total bias, okay? But I would claim that Rachel's ratings, which are out of sight at the moment, is because she's consistently delivered, Rachel Maddow, consistently delivered very hard stuff from the calm of the pendulum. And in a way that's trust, whether it's a politician or a parent. And I guess it's, I can't in any way claim to know what it's like. But when you fear that your 12-year-old boy might be shot by a policeman, I guess the motivation to deliver the safety lectures are such that they will be delivered from the calm of the pendulum. Because otherwise you're going to be paralyzing your child with the fear. But again, I say the high is what's inside us. So the parent delivering the message might well have enough choices and control of their emotions, of naked fear, to appear to be calm, but in fact, it might well be internally a high, and that is going to come down to a low. And I think some of our best material is, I've never made that statement before, some of our best material is our understanding of lows. Definitionally, a low is an inward turning time, a time when our emotions want to turn inward in the main rather than outward. In a rough definitional sense, the high is physical, the low is mental. In the tolerable low, we can recharge our batteries. In a tolerable low, this is a very big point. In a tolerable low, we can hang on to feelings of accomplishment we might have got in the high. Again, going back to parenting, the parent who gets, furiously angry with a 15-year-old girl, You know, you lied to me. You weren't at Susie's place. I found Susie's mum. You weren't there. And if that's a compulsive high and the row with the teenager is in the compulsive high area, that comes down to a compulsive low. And in the compulsive low, which is more internal, more mental, we have a constant stream of negative thoughts. The defining point of a compulsive low, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, is a constant stream of negativity. It is a very dangerous place. But just to give one example, the mum who has the row with her daughter from the compulsive, and that goes into a compulsive high, okay? And there's no doubt, you know, she's furious and she's worried, and the daughter is being provocative, all of those things. When that high comes down to a compulsive low, the mum will rubbish the way she's a parent. You know, oh, I'm such a lousy parent. That's what we do in the low. Cynthia's point, there's a particular attraction to hurt in both these extremes. I think I want to leave it till next week, although we'll touch on it. I can touch on it briefly now. But the difference between the pleasant and the unpleasant compulsive low is much more subtle, but in this material, very important. You know, there's not much, we don't have much difficulty on the high side seeing the difference between the pleasant and the unpleasant, but there is some difficulty on the low side, okay? In a sense, the compulsive low is dangerous, depression, and guilt. That's the unpleasant compulsive low. The pleasant compulsive low is very dangerous, hopelessness and martyrdom. It's, you know, I'm enjoying feeling sorry for myself. I realized I put a lot out today in a different way, actually. Do others want to come in? I wonder if now we could take the diagram down. So, do you want to come in at all tomorrow?
I'm looking forward to how come there's the circle and square and the square and the circle on either side of the pendulum. That interests me. The code of negative, the code of negative with the positive, and the code of positive with the negative. Yeah.
Yes.
The thing that I'll be able to deal that.
Just to say that quickly, and I use two examples. There's a code of positive around the negative of the compulsive I, okay? And that is a vision of what we're capable of. And the examples I use are sex and creativity. Sex because people remember sex. There's a certain sense of our own sexuality that at times we can only find by getting in a big high, even though it's dangerous. and that's where we say the pendulum, the calm of the pendulum is not a tranquil place. You know, long, slow lovemaking with someone we're familiar with can be as sexual as lust for someone perhaps who we should not lust for. So that, and the same is true of creativity. And the example around creativity, a classical example is Van Gogh. You know, to have a sense of our own creativity, at times we have to be in such a compulsive high that, you know, it's unrealistic, it's dangerous, it's, you know, but we need to be there. We need to have a vision. You know, this idea of mine could change the world. And at times we have to have that. And at times we have to feel our sexuality. It might need to be outside that which is acceptable. But so Van Gogh had his visions, there's no question. I mean, the vision of the Starry Night. But if you read his letters over and over and over again, he painted his pictures from the calm of the pendulum. That's so that's one of the examples of code of positive around the negative. And there are similar ones on the low side. You know, on the low side, to say it simply, the depth of the blues, and, you know, dark nights of the soul, the poet's dark nights of the soul. And there's, just to put it in here and maybe give you a feel for the power of the tool, in terms of our work, and this is, I've mentioned this example here before, but it was a sort of, yeah, it was pretty much a life-changing one for me, both in terms of my intellectual journey and my clinical journey as a practitioner. And that is learning that the statement, I'm just tired of this. And I'm talking about working with guys in prison. There's a way that statement was made from a deep low, someone sitting out a deep low, that I learned over time, sorry. That was gold in terms of achieving change. Just that statement, I really like that. I'm just tired of it. So there's some examples of what you're saying. Elizabeth?
I don't really have anything to say right now.
Okay. Mary, do you want to come in at all? That's fine. So do you want to come back in, Cease, a bit?
I was remembering about the high, the negative high situation, maybe this past week when, and Tom and I have both been kind of in bad moods. We've had really, our house was burglarized. Tom's bike was stolen. Also, our dog died. And yeah, that was horrible. Then I fell at a restaurant. We went out to kind of get away from things, broke my nose. It was a bad week. So we were both kind of in bad moods, and I asked him something, and he kind of gave me a flip answer, which in some cases would kind of tick me off somehow. But I was able to realize I could go out pretty high, and I just calmed myself down and didn't say anything. And then later he apologized. So I was able to catch myself, which was good before it went. And so I think that was being more aware of where I was on the pendulum. That's my example.
Yeah, no.
There was a note for you too somewhere. Oh,
Elizabeth said she just got some news
okay.
nothing needed
Oh,
to
okay.
take the
Mhm.
and left.
So I think that was helpful to figure out where I was, and I didn't want to go any higher. And that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
I think that because one of the things I want to be able to get across, but at times I do it with too many words, is sort of what our method is, okay? And a method is sort of learning the stuff in some detail, at times with lots and lots of different bits of sort of, which are essentially theory around it. And as I said recently, pulling it out of the overly crowded toolbox, too many tools in the toolbox. And I really appreciate that bit of sharing, Cecil. I really feel for you. In my regards to Tom, really. But I think so what it comes, so something, almost too much comes in. I think we just, maybe I'm getting high on the pendulum. It's sort of all,
Yeah.
but I think our method is that you sort of have to have all those bits of detail and this and that, and this and that, and this and that. And then over time, I think people just sort of integrate it into themselves, okay? And I would imagine, it's a shame Nikki's not here, but I would imagine a lot of, and I don't think this is just Pelham at all, I'm not apologetic about it, but I imagine, practitioners who've been, Pelham practitioners for 40 years, might not be able to pass a test, right? What is the fifth level of listening and how does that relate to communication strata or something? It's sort of not the way knowledge goes, okay? I just sort of want to put in, I think there's a place in the learning process for the detail, and maybe there's a place at times to revisit it. But I think the method is, my God, this week's too much. And we just sort of think, almost unconsciously, pendulum, be a bit careful. Yeah.
It's interesting you say that, because part of we were so low. That's why I thought we should go out to eat that last Monday. And that's where I fell at the restaurant. So this thing that was supposed to bring us up was another downer.
Yeah.
But I think I realized how down we were. So I knew something, we had to get away.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you reached out to food, because one of the things that we talk about, and it'll come out more on Wednesday when, I'm asking everyone to bring examples of the pendulum. But what we talk about in terms of being in a low, and this is a low that's absolutely, well, I don't, all those really horrible things happening push anyone into a high, so there's going to be a low after that. And the thing about low is really small feelings of accomplishment, often related to domestic things, often related to parts of our childhood or youth, or the early stages of a marriage, where something was really nice. That is one of those sort of classic things about the deep And one of the other classic things about the deep low and also the high, and don't worry about taking this in now, I just want to thank you for what you shared with us, Cease, is changing the physical environment. And at times we talk about changing the physical environment as literally sort of standing up. And maybe just for a moment, I'd ask everyone to stand up and just take it, if you can, and just take a couple of steps to the side. I mean, that's the smallest changing the physical environment. Changing the physical environment might be going out to the restaurant. Changing the physical environment might be taking 3 months off and going to Sweden. So all that range, but literally one of the techniques of the word, if we're being pushed into a big high, is to change the physical environment. And again, there's a common sense out of that. You know, being in a staff meeting, a managerial meeting, and finding you're getting really high and saying, oh, I just need to go to the bathroom, or I'm just going to get myself a coffee. Anyone else like a coffee? I mean, literally, you know, doing that and getting out to the little coffee room that might be, you know, 2 doors down the hallway can break the bubble of that compulsive high.
I had something actually that happened during this pandemic that was like really strange, and I wonder if that's part of it. During the summer, there was one point where I was just so sick of everything in this house. In fact, I wanted to throw everything away and start over. And I redid this room at that time, because luckily I had the opportunity for furniture. But then in the winter, there was a time where I was like terrified to leave the house, even just to go into it. Is that part of compulsive highs and compulsive lows? Because it was really weird. Because, like I said, one time I just had to get somewhere, and the other place was like I couldn't even walk out of the house.
Yeah, I think I'm one of those people who's scared of scary movies. I don't like them. Even when my kids were, you know, quite young, they'd say, "Oh, Papa, you won't like that movie." I don't like scary movies. So I don't have any sense of horror movies, okay, and what people get out of it. But I think the pendulum has a lot to say around fear, okay? Because I think fear often is a compulsive high that doesn't show, okay? And I guess I would also say, maybe on Wednesday, I'll bring this example up again, so I can get sharing from other people. But you know, the kind of positive around the negative, I imagine there's some sort of buzz, exhilaration, I'm guessing, that people who like horror movies get from them. And I couldn't go there, but you know, I occasionally see reviews, okay? And the review will say, well, they didn't quite get it. It wasn't terrifying enough. I can't even understand that. But so I think there's something about fear where the pendulum got some really useful stuff to say. And I think some of those swings could be quite violent, or quick, whatever word we use. Because when we look at, and what we're saying, you know, we're saying is a pretty heavy rule. You know, you will get low to the extent that you get high. that is going to happen. That's inevitable. And of course, that's debatable, okay? And there will be will be exceptions. But in the main, that's the point we put across. And sometimes those swings are really fast, okay? There's a way of using the pendulum, which is, further down the road, and, the sort of all of that advanced stuff on the pendulum next Sunday, where we talk about letting yourself have a really big high, particularly around anger, but keeping it short. So you go up, you express your anger, you don't hold back, but you don't stay there, you come back down really quickly. You'll hit the low, but the low won't be as long. Okay.
And if it's, you hit the low, I'm sorry, I really want to get this part about the compulsive negativity, or I'm thinking of the thoughts and negative memory links, that it can be obsessive, that you can find yourself an obsessive trap caught in that place that I know nothing about. I've never been there, and in no way an autobiography.
I always sleep 3 a.m. in the morning. Right? I never wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm not married to being miserable. That's not.
And I guess, and to go back to the other example I've used here, the mum who gets, furiously angry. I don't want to talk about it. You're grounded. We'll talk about it tomorrow. But, it doesn't hold back anything, right? Just, it all comes out. But it's brief. She'll come down to a low. Oh my God, I'm a terrible parent. But that won't last very long. That'll last an hour or two, and then, wait a minute. Yes, I was right to get that angry. And what we'll be talking about, the low, is coming out of it slowly. So you're in the compulsive low, and then you're moving to the tolerable low. And in the tolerable low, you can say, but she's 15. What was I like at 15? They're the sort of things you can say in a tolerable low that you couldn't say in a compulsive low. Okay. We'll stop there. And thank you for coming. And thank you for making teaching the pendulum the accepted effort for me. Do you want to go next, Mary?
Well, you didn't say your ending piece.
I thank you. Yeah, that's a high, right? That's a high. Yeah, I'm in Norfolk in England, and it's getting a bit, the sun's beginning to go down, and it's something after 7:30 in the evening.
I'm Mary in Rosarito Beach, and the sun's still up just after 11:30.
Okay, Tamara?
I'm Tamara, and I'm in alignment with Mary. She's just lower and I'm higher, but we're in the same time zone, and we appear to have sun in common.
Okay. Cease?
Cease, I'm in Tampa, Florida. It's about 2:30. It's kind of in between sunny and cloudy right now, but it's warm outside.
Okay. Cynthia?
Cynthia in Kankakee, it's sunny. It's a little cooler than it's been the last few days, but it's
Okay.
nice weather, and it's a little after 1:30.
Okay. Okay, so Wednesday is examples on this topic. Wednesdays are also always going to be examples, sort of capitalized. Okay. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you then. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye
Bye,
bye.
Watch
bye,
Hey,
this. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
thank
bye.